Shalom Aleichem, everyone. We're continuing Hachzig's learning of the Pele Yoetz, a good Tevach. Today is day number 186 in the chapter of Dibur. And he says like this, Hagoynev das chavera, someone who steals his friend's mind. Shemishtadel al yedei dvarim hadvarim leida sisvei chaver. He's trying to ask him questions nonchalantly. He wants to understand the secrets of this person over there. He transgresses the prohibition of you should not be a gossip monger amongst your people. Like we mentioned above from a sefer called Hilchis Ketanos. Even to steal the secrets, the mind of a non-Jew, you cannot do that as well. You have to be so careful. People have their things, their private matters. They have what's going on over here, what goes on over here in their private life. That's between them and themselves, the Rabbi Shalom, their family, whoever they want to share with. But if you're going to try to needle away at this person and reveal their secrets, which they're not interested in doing, that's Genevas Das. You are stealing their mind, and you are a rachel, you're a gossip monger. However, it is permitted for a rav, for a rabbi, uladayin, and for a judge, for a father, for a rav, for a rabbi, uladayin, and a judge, lignai ves halev, they could somewhat, trick the people that they are speaking to, kedei lahadrich b'derech hayosha, in order to be able to guide them on the right path, kedei la'itzi din emes la'amitu, and to be able to reveal the emes, the true judgment that is supposed to be. So if a father needs to understand from his kid, what did he do? He's allowed to be goynev das. He can trick him in that he will end up telling you the truth. And so too the Rabbi, the Rav, and so too the Dayan, the judge, they can do the same thing. He's here a Torah shalayanti madam ta'anoisa l'dayin. The Torah warns a person or prohibits a person that he shouldn't come and make his case to the judge before the other person arrives. And so too a judge cannot listen to the arguments of one side of the story before the other party is there. So too a judge cannot be soft and merciful to one and very harsh to the other one. That's not fair. He cannot favor the one that is poor. He cannot honor the one that is greater. Two people standing in front of him, one is rich, one is poor, one's amazing, one's a nebuch, one's a miskin. Whatever the story is, in the eyes of the judge, everybody is equal. And if he does something in the other way where he favors one over the other, he's transgressing. Hanoi there, someone who makes a vow, kilu bana bama, it's like he built a bama, which is an altar that was built in the olden days outside the Beis HaMikdash. V'nikru chayti is called a sinner. Like it says in the pasuk over here, if you refrain from vowing, there will be no sin in you. It's better not to vow. If you could, instead of vowing, and there are some communities where they have a practice that if somebody wants to go and dwell and live in Eretz Yisrael, and they want to live there, they take a vow that he will go to Eretz Yisrael. Meaning a person says, if I don't vow, if I don't promise to HaKadosh Baruch Hu I'm going to get there, I'll never get there. So he makes a net, he makes a vow that he's going to move to Eretz Yisrael. Says the Pele Yoetz, this is not a good custom. You are bringing an avera before you do the mitzvah. It's an avera, he says, to make vows. You shouldn't do things, and many times people don't fulfill them and follow through. So you're better off to just, in your heart of hearts, that's where you want to go. Do everything you can to get there. Rather, you should go without making a neder. That's the proper way to do things. It is also askir shem avodah zarah kama shekorin lo hagoyim. You're not allowed to mention the names of avodah zarah, of idols and idol worship, the way that the worshippers themselves do. Rather, you should give it some kind of a very disparaging type of a nickname. And someone who speaks often to idol worshippers, so he will be nichshel. He can easily make a mistake over here. In Maskulem Yemei Edom Shenikraim Al Shem Havlehem, they mention their holidays which are based upon their paganism and the like. You shouldn't do that. And therefore the best thing is that if you want to remember a specific time, you should mention that month, and you shouldn't mention the holiday that's in it. Krachsmas, Xmas, something like that, or December 25th, that's the day of the month. We do things without calling it by its name. Asar lenachish, you cannot use omens to use some kind of divinity or whatever to be able to know what the future is going to bring. Like the foolish, ignorant people do when they see that the bread falls out of his hand. He says, or if he hiccups, and they call it something called sangruto, which is some kind of a hiccup in a different language. They say, this is a sign that on high in Shemaim they're talking about me. I dropped the pita out of my hand. I made that funny kind of a hiccup over there. They must be talking about me in Shemaim. And if there's spark next to a candle, they say, that's a sign. A guest is coming. And if the top of the flames would take on the shape of a letter, they say, a letter's on the way. Anyone who says such things, they believe in these omens, and they believe that such things are true. They transgress a prohibition in the Torah. You're not allowed to indulge in divination. So too, someone who says, it's not a good thing to lend money or to give credit at the beginning of the week or the beginning of a day. Or even if they say, no, it's not a good time, it's not in the stars, it's not good. No, it's always a good time to do a chesed. To give tzedakah, to give a loan, to help somebody out, of course. A person transgresses the prohibition that says, do not believe in these lucky times like these stargazers do. If a person asks, like sorcerers and horoscopes and fortune tellers and the genie in the jar and all these things, tell me what's the future going to reveal? We have a pasuk that says that you have to go purely and innocently with Hashem your God. You're not allowed to do such things. A little bit more. You're not allowed to pervert judgment, because it says in the pasuk you cannot commit a perversion in justice. It's not only talking about a judge. Every man, with his wife, with his children, with his servants, anyone that caters to his wishes, he has to be careful over there, not to pervert the judgment. If they have any complaints over here, and they have a reason why that they did not fulfill his wishes as he desired, you know what that means, says the Pele Yoetz? You can't get angry with them and embarrass them. And they didn't do the job. So you have a right to go and criticize and make them feel bad and curse at them. Chas v'chalila. Committing harbek hasanim like many angry people do. Can't do that. And it says, Im emas mishpat abdi uva amasi berivam imadi uma esay ki yokum kel v'chiyiv kodma ashivenu. If I ever spurn justice in my servants and my maidservants when they contended with me, what could I do when Hashem rises up against me? When he will call me to the account, what am I going to answer him? Which means if a maidservant, if a child, if a wife, if a husband, if somebody did something that was not to my liking, my pleasing, calm down, says the Pele Yoetz. Also, you're not allowed to ask and demand to be repaid for a loan if you know the person doesn't have money to repay you. The fun of also, even to pass in front of that person to make him feel bad, is usher. Because he's going to see you walking down the street near him. He's like, maybe he's coming to get my loan. I don't have the money. What am I going to do? You're not allowed to provide interest in the form of words. Like if somebody lent you money and you go out of your way to say, oh, shalom, 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 how are you? It's so good to see you. Unless that's the way you always did things. You were always the first one to say hello to somebody else, then you could. Or when you're paying him back, you offer him these very nice words of favor. You have to be careful about that as well. Rather, you say, you should merit mitzvahs. Thank you. You loaned me the money. You saved my life. Tiskul mitzvahs. And then the friend will return that bracha to him as well, and he'll tell him, Tiskul mitzvahs, you too. You should be zeich, you should merit to do more mitzvahs. So you see in the Pele Yoetz, the person has to be so careful. Every little thing that comes out of our mouth, you think you're going to say a mitzvah, you think you're going to say the right thing? If you're not careful, chalila v'chas, a person can say the wrong things, and instead of the mitzvahs, chalila, we get averas, but if we do things in the right way, we keep elevating and elevating and elevating our speech to a level that is really a nachas ruach, leyotzor to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It creates nachas between us and our fellow Jews, and it keeps us calm, it keeps us cool and collected, it keeps us in the right place, and Be'ez Hashem will use our speech for the right things. All the best.